At 10:43 in the morning, between shifts, you put your phone face down on the laundromat table, and it buzzes anyway. Your shirt is still damp with sweat. Your hands feel raw from rough metal, dry air, and cement dust. The job site finally went quiet, but your ears still carry the sound of machines. And then another price quote comes in. Rent, groceries, gas, work gloves, laundry, lunch. Nothing dramatic happens in that moment. No one yells. Nothing breaks. But something in you goes quiet. This is the heavy price of minimum wage when it starts costing your health. Not all at once. Not in one big scene. It can happen in small, ordinary moments where your body keeps paying for a life that barely lets you catch up. Minimum wage can sound simple from far away. It sounds like a number on paper. An hourly rate. A line in a job posting. A paycheck that arrives every week or every 2 weeks. But when you live inside it, it can become a daily trade. You trade sleep for an early bus. You trade rest for one more shift. You trade a sore back for keeping the lights on. You trade quiet meals for food you can eat fast in a parking lot or break room. You trade a doctor visit for rent, because rent does not wait kindly. And after a while, the hardest part may not be the work itself. It may be realizing that even when you are doing everything asked of you, your body is still falling behind. One common reason is that low pay turns every basic choice into math. When money is tight, even rest becomes something you calculate. You may know your feet hurt, or your hands sting, or your back feels heavy, but the question becomes, what does it cost to stop? So you keep moving, like the body is a bill that can be delayed for one more week. You stand in the laundromat watching your work pants spin, and instead of relaxing, you count how much the detergent, dryer time, and tomorrow's lunch will leave behind. That kind of math can make a person feel trapped inside their own effort. Sometimes, it comes from the way hard work gets praised while the tired body gets ignored. People may say things like, at least you're working, or everyone starts somewhere, or keep grinding. Sometimes they mean well, but those words can make the pain feel invisible. They notice the discipline, the clock-ins, the long hours, but not the way your shoulders stay tight after the shift is over. You come home smelling like dust and metal, and someone asks if you picked up milk, not whether you sat down today. It can feel strange to be respected for pushing through and unseen for what pushing through takes. This can take shape when the job leaves no clean line between work time and body time. The shift may end, but the weight stays with you. The machines stop, but your ears still hum. The dust gets washed out of your shirt, but your skin still feels dry and rough. Even sitting in a plastic laundromat chair, you are not fully resting, because your phone keeps pulling you back into the next cost, the next quote, the next small reminder that tomorrow is already waiting. So your body is technically off the clock, but it keeps working in the background. That is where the price becomes quieter and harder to explain. It is not always a single injury or a clear before and after. Sometimes it is the slow wearing down of ordinary things. You get used to waking up tired. You get used to eating fast. You get used to skipping appointments. You get used to saying, I'm fine, because explaining the whole thing takes more energy than you have. And the confusing part is that you may not see yourself as someone who is struggling. You may see yourself as someone who handles things. Someone who shows up. Someone who does not make a big deal out of discomfort because there is work to do and people depend on you. So the story becomes quiet. You do not say, I am paying with my health. You say, my back is acting up. You say, I'm wiped out. You say, I'll deal with it later. You say, it's been a long week, even when every week has started to feel long. It can look like a person sitting in a laundromat at 10:43 a.m., still in work boots, phone turned over because looking at it feels like too much. The dryer clicks and hums. A kid near the vending machine presses the same button twice. Outside, cars move through the street like the rest of the day has plenty of room. Then the phone buzzes again. It is a quote for materials, or a reminder from someone about a payment, or a message from a boss asking if you can cover extra hours. The screen lights up against the table, but you do not pick it up right away. Your palm is sore. Your lower back feels like it has been carrying the whole morning. Your shirt still smells faintly like sweat and concrete, even though it is about to go into the wash. You stare at the phone and feel a tired kind of anger, but the anger has nowhere to go. Because the job is not evil in a simple way. The people around you may not be cruel. The laundry is not the problem. The phone is not the problem. But together, all of it starts to feel like a life where every small thing asks for one more piece of you. If you've been there, you're not strange. You might know someone who lives like this. This is what the heavy price can look like when it does not explode. It sits in the body. It shows up as the deep sigh before opening a message. It shows up as the way you hold your breath at the cash register. It shows up as the silence after someone says, "Work is work," and you do not know how to explain that the work follows you home. And there is something else here that is easy to miss. Sometimes the shame gets added on top, like a second weight. A person may start thinking, maybe I am not tough enough. Maybe other people handle this better. Maybe I picked the wrong path. But that kind of thinking can hide the real picture. A body is not weak for reacting to too much strain, too little rest, and too little room to recover. There is a difference between being grateful for work and pretending the cost is small. Gratitude does not erase the ache in your hands. Pride does not refill lost sleep. Being responsible does not turn low pay into enough money, enough time, or enough care. A person can be hardworking and worn down at the same time. Both can be true. One small thing that can make the moment clearer is naming the trade instead of blaming yourself. Not in a dramatic way. Just honestly. You might say, "This shift paid for groceries, and it also took a lot from my body." Or, "This extra hour helped with rent, and it also took away rest." That kind of sentence does not solve the money problem, but it can separate your worth from the strain you are carrying. It reminds you that the weight is not only personal. It can also help to make one tiny record of what your body has been carrying. A note on your phone can be enough. Hands sore after site work, back heavy after lifting, skipped lunch, slept 5 hours. Nothing fancy. No long journal. Over time, those small notes can show a pattern that the mind tends to blur. Instead of waiting until everything feels unbearable, you see the cost in plain words, one day at a time. And maybe that is the quiet beginning of taking yourself seriously. Not as a project. Not as a problem. As a person whose body has been telling the truth in the only way it can. Because when you live close to the edge financially, you can start treating your own discomfort like background noise. You hear it, but you keep turning the volume down. There is always a bill louder than your shoulder. Always a deadline louder than your sleep. Always someone else's request louder than the small warning in your hands. But the body remembers what the paycheck forgets. It remembers the skipped meals. It remembers the wet shirt drying against your back. It remembers the way you stood too long because sitting down meant falling behind. It remembers the laundromat chair, the buzzing phone, the concrete dust under your nails, and the moment you realized you were not only tired from today. You were tired from keeping life possible. This is for the people who look dependable, but quietly feel spent before the day is half over. The heavy price is not only the low number on the paycheck. It is the way a person learns to bargain with their own body and call it normal. And if this felt familiar, maybe the softest truth is this: you were not imagining the cost. You were carrying it.